Hello and hi to everyone. Today we will discuss about the Bitcoin's property which is most important, and it is called censorship resistance. Censorship resistance may refer to a specific property of a cryptocurrency network. This property implies that any party wishing to transact on the network can do so as long as they follow the rules of the network protocol. It might also refer to the property of a network that prevents any party from altering transactions on it. When a transaction is added to the blockchain, it is propagated across thousands of nodes and added to the distributed ledger. Once the transaction has been added, it is virtually impossible to remove or alter it, making it and the network immutable, which means it cannot be added or deleted or removed or manipulated in any shape, size, or form. Censorship resistance is considered to be one of the main value propositions of Bitcoin. The idea is that no nation state, corporations, or third party has the power to control who can transact or store their wealth on the network. Censorship resistance ensures that the laws that govern the network are set in advance and cannot be retroactively altered to fit a specific agenda. While traditional financial institutions are in the hands of intermediaries, the Bitcoin network is not owned by any single entity. We know that its nodes are spread all over the world, um, and thousands of millions of people are mining it through on their computers on every part of the globe. As such, it is virtually impossible to censor transactions on it. Yes, because of this property, it is impossible to censor transactions on it. In contrast, this isn't the case when it comes to traditional finance. For example, if a person is deemed an enemy of an authoritarian state, the ruling government might freeze their account and prevent them from moving their funds. Now in these cases, we have seen that Russia is facing sanctions. It is not getting money from the West or any other parts. So these things will not happen with the decentralized censorship resistance money, which is called Bitcoin, and that is why Russia is now opening to the Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And the largest Russian bank, which is called Sberbank, is now running on Ethereum. It has included Ethereum in its payment mode, and now transaction will run on Ethereum, which is also a Russian discovery, which is very good for Russia. While Bitcoin is mostly used as an instrument for speculation, this use case is probably the most fundamental reason why it is a substantial innovation. So this is the most fundamental reason that it is a great innovation, that it cannot be censored. You cannot tell that stop this money to this man, do not give this money to this country. This property is not in the Bitcoin, therefore it is called censorship resistance and decentralized money. Decentralized means without government, without interference, or without intermediaries. It is worth noting that censoring transactions on the block Bitcoin network is not completely impossible. Maybe, but rather extremely resource intensive, much but very difficult. The security model of Bitcoin heavily relies on a majority rules. This means that a single entity could, in theory, garner enough hash rate to gain control of the network in a scenario called a 51% attack, which we have seen in many other currencies. Like Ethereum Classics has many 51% attacks, which where a single entity has taken control of the network and used it to siphon off the funds. Also, a Bitcoin Gold also is there, a cryptocurrency who has many 51% attacks, which is not a good for the coin. And so because a single entity can take control of it, the chances of this happening are rather slim, but it is possible nonetheless. Yes, anything can be possible, but rarity very rare. This is very rare. So this was a small piece of news on what is censorship resistance. Anything more in crypto? Censorship resistance refer to the freedom of the transact, the freedom from confiscation, and the transaction immutability. Censorship resistance exists on a spectrum, with Bitcoin like being the most censorship resistance cryptocurrency or the digital assets. So it's so let us see what it says. What is sensitive? More like no, Solana is not. Before defining censorship resistance, it is important to understand what censorship is in a financial context. Financial censorship is the suppression of the financial activities, such as preventing you from spending your own money on something, cancelling transactions that you have had with another party, or freezing your financial assets. This is called censorship. Like bank can freeze our accounts, government can freeze our accounts, they can cancel, bank also can cancel our transaction, government can, and they can prevent us from spending our money on what we want. Like crypto banks are the single most powerful entity that is stopping customers from spending their own money to purchase Ethereum, Litecoin, VeChain, and Cardano, like other cryptocurrencies. Governments are traditionally the main censors, though other financial intermediaries like banks, credit card companies, and Web2 platforms are suppressing financial activities more and more. So credit card companies are also include bank. Now Web2 platforms are also doing the same thing. Censorship resistance then is the ability to carry out financial actions despite the wishes of any third party. Which means so censorship resistance is you can carry out your transaction without interference of any third party. As mentioned above, the three pillars of crypto censorship resistance are: number one is the freedom to transact. Third parties cannot prevent you from sending or receiving assets. The freedom from confiscation. Third parties cannot take away or freeze your assets. Confiscation means taking away. Third parties cannot take my money, which banks and government usually do, like we have seen in the Cyprus, where the bank and the government took all of the people's money, and the people's money were left with nothing in their bank account, zero bank account. Also in Argentina, the immutability of transactions. It is nearly impossible for third parties to change transactions after the fact. When a transaction is sent, it is gone. There is no way you can reverse it, reiterate it. In traditional finance, gold is censorship resistance, whereas almost all government issued fiat currencies heavily censored. Cash is more censorship resistant, but it accounts for a minority of fiat. For example, USD currency in circulation represents approximately 10% of the total USD money supply. This does not even account for euro-dollar market. So this was the difference between censorship and non-censorship or censorship resistance. Why is censorship resistance important? Censorship resistance in the financial context is a powerful tool for pushing back against the encroachment of strong public and private entities. Like private banks are also stopping payment. Censorship resistance financial product make it that much harder for governments to appropriate their citizens' freedom, economic or otherwise. They also provide a check on financial institutions and companies by offering customers a viable alternative. So the capital control here, bank runs, freedom of speech, sanctions, the spectrum of the spectrum of censorship resistance in the crypto. Censorship resistance is achieved through the network architecture of a blockchain. The choices a blockchain makes for speed and transaction costs impact the level of censorship resistance. In general, the faster and cheaper a blockchain network is, the less censorship resistance it is. As blockchain software continues to innovate, those trade-offs should lessen, though they will probably never fully disappear. Bitcoin is not only likely the most censorship resistant crypto assets, it is probably the most censorship resistant network in existence. It achieves this through a process called proof of work, POW, a process in which Bitcoin is mined. You can, yes, Ethereum used POW but switched to POS, but it is not as decentralized because it is controlled by a head which is called Vitalik Buterin. While Bitcoin does not have any head, it is a head is a known person, so it has given its power to the numerous thousands of millions of people who mine or miners who are mining Bitcoin from their computers in the remote part of the world, all over the world. Binance is also not decentralized because it is also controlled by Zhangpeng Zhao, who is also a head. He can say, I can do this, I can not do this. He can dictate terms to the Binance coin, etc. But the only one, the truly centralized non-censorship resistance coin in the crypto world is Bitcoin. So that is the most important quality of the Bitcoin, and that is why it is the number one coin and most respectable coin in the world. That's all. Bye.